I'll take anything but the big end. Which means that a lot of chicks are undateable. Like, even with what I like among Gen Z, it means like 50% of them are just undateable. But it's the largest generation on Earth. And by taking that path, you automatically win like half of them by calling out racists, homophobes, age phobes, and misogynists on their shit. They'll win you a lot of girls. I'm getting to the point now where chicks are walking up or like going past in cars with their boyfriends, and the chick is in the passenger seat, and she'll like look directly into my eyes and like brush her hair aside with the boyfriend there looking at me too, almost about to smile and shake my hand. And you just look at the mall rats long enough and they'll start looking at you if they're legal age and blush. They might look young, but they're 21 because they look exactly the same age as the people at the bars. If they look too young, they might be like 18 but just like they're 21. Eventually they'll start throwing themselves at you anyway if they're regulars. But chicks like that usually have boyfriends. However, they are open. They play around a lot. They swap a lot. They're not necessarily having sex, but they probably are. So be careful of those girls that are cute, but seem to be with a lot of guys. I'm not saying they're off the books. I mean, if they have the survival rate to go through this with all these guys and they're still alive looking healthy, that might say something about their damn immune systems, right? That may be something that you gotta get that quick, because that seems to be a strong chick that is blushing a lot and getting lots of different guys, but still alive for this shit. That's a good chick to try to get. That's a strong immune system that'll impact your babies in a very positive way. Also, chicks at the mall that you think might be too young, but they have great legs. That great legs is usually an indicator that they're of age, because they wouldn't be flashing them if they were underage. The underage ones usually pretty skinny, but even some of them are legal age. But if they look like they're 18, they're probably around 21. Being 40 is pretty fun. I mean, on Instagram, you can make them cry so easily. Just ask, do you date 40-year-old men? If they say no, call her a bigot and block her. That'll make her cry. There's just nothing to do it. Anything. Okay, so I'm under the bridge, and I'm trying to figure this out. Because in probably 20 to 30 years, all my parents are going to be gone. So I would say like 20 to 25, all my parents are going to be gone. So I'm thinking about this. I know my stepdad and my mom are probably worth around $1 million, because I asked my stepdad one day recently, like in my late 30s, like a couple years ago, what they were worth. I think it was like 6 years ago what they're worth, and he said maybe $1 million. Well, I might know my dad and my stepmom are worth at least $1 million. So, like, even knowing that my dad and my stepmom have 3 kids, right? My older half-brother and myself, and the property's worth around $300,000. That's $100,000 just in asset alone. And then probably $100,000 to $250,000 total if you divide it between my 2 older stepsisters and their families, and my younger brother and myself, 4 people. and even repeating those three people, just kind of, you get a 7, right? I mean, it would be myself, my brother, and my other brother, my 2 stepsisters, between $2 million, even though that doesn't all just like plop together. Because my dad has more money than my mom, is what I'm saying. But my mom's got like $1 million. But my dad has at least $1 million. So it's like $2 million between 2 stepsisters and my 2 brothers and myself. Gives you a 7, right? No, 5. I'm just lying. I don't know. I did it in my head. I said, well, what if it was like 8 if you like toss some to the nieces and nephews, and then you got divided out. So I just thought, like, a good estimate to divide $2 million if both sets of parents have $1 million between 8 people, which would be my brother, myself, and me, 3 people, and then do it again with the stepsisters. So that's 5, right? So I'm thinking 3 more if I like just throw it out there because of all the nieces and nephews. So if I were to divide it 8 ways, and you look at this, my family income, when my parents are all gone in 30 years, likely, I'll be 70 years old, but they'll probably pass on between 20 and 25, and I'll be 60 to 65, not too old. Then the inheritance will be all there. Altogether, I'd probably inherit $100,000 to $250,000 in 30 years. So I would probably inherit more than $1 million in all that. So I'm thinking, like, minimum would be like $100,000 just in that property. So I'm thinking also $250,000 in cash, something like that, would probably be the low end. And like higher than that might be what they're trying to confer, is that like each of us could indeed, or at least myself and my younger brother and my older brother might be worth $1 million apiece. My stepdad is kind of facetious, so he thinks that maybe that my younger brother, my older half brother, and myself might be inheritors of $1 million apiece in 30 years after all the parents die. Or he's conferring that each set has $1 million, which would mean $250,000. So I'll inherit somewhere between $250,000 and $1 million. If something happens weird where the economy just tanks, at least $100,000. But maybe more than $1 million, I don't know. Grandkids, stewards of thy pharaohs and gardens, keepers of thy trust. That Vivaldi is scratching every itch right now. I'm listening to this on Pandora as I'm recording this video, so that's why I look like this right now. I'm listening to the Vivaldi radio. That's hitting every spot. Vivaldi. I'm on about that Vivaldi radio right here. This is actually someone called Tommaso Abicio or something like that. It's on my Instagram. Check it. I'm thinking when my dad goes in like 20 or 30 years, we take his 12 acres and grow a bunch of weed on it, but a lot more hemp. And try a lot of weed. We'll grow a lot of weed on it. And then we grow a lot of hemp. I say we try to develop a hemp rocket fuel on Father's land. Or maybe a substitute for gasoline. But we'll try to work on a rocket fuel. Make biofuel. Maybe try to sell it to Elon Musk. Try to make $1 billion. These are incredibly hot. These are like habanero. Yeah. How shiny my head is. Sweating so much here. Oh my God. I just popped the boner. $1 billion. I'll eat a black guy.